Hey guys, Demise here. Welcome back to my channel. And in this video, I will be giving you my top 5 most helpful tips, especially for early and mid-game players. My first tip for you guys is that you should pick Kale as your starter champion. All 4 starter champions can be very helpful to your account and you should 100% 60 your starter champion first. But Kale has such a huge advantage over all of the other starters because Kale is actually viable until the end game and is the best boss killer among the 4 of them. Kale has poisons unlike the other 3 champions, which means Kale will have such a massive advantage over the other 3 in terms of clan boss, dragon, and other content that actually has bosses. In addition to that, Kale's A2 actually gives him turn meter every time he kills an enemy with it. So if you guys do kill a lot of enemies, Kale can actually get an instant turn right away, which means you can go ahead and kill off the enemies that you didn't finish off with the first hit. The next tip I have for you guys is to 65 champions at least before you start exploring the game in different ways. 5 champions that you want to 60 ideally are different roles which can carry you through the different dungeons and different content really early in the game. The first 60 you will ever need is your starter champion. For me, that is Kale, and like I recommended earlier, this is in fact the best possible starter champion. So you just 60 this guy, and make sure you can build him on lifesteal in the really early game and he'll carry you through most of parts of the game. The next champion that you want to 60 is either another damage dealer or an AoE decreased defense champion. For me, that was War Maiden. She served her purpose now. She has the AoE decreased defense and is a farmable champion. So she's really accessible and you can book her out by using her own copies from campaign. The next 60 you will want is another support champion, so Apothecary, a very good free-to-play option. Or if you guys pull Bellower, then either one of these two can be another 60 on your account. Do keep in mind damage dealers benefit the most for leveling up to 60. Maybe you have somehow Cupidus in the early game. You want to 6-star Kale and then another damage dealer because supports can run as 50s while damage dealers need to be 60'd. So the first 5 champions you want to 60 are either 2 damage dealers and then 3 supports, or 1 damage dealer with 4 supports that can cover different roles. The next beginner tip that I have for you guys is to save your brews. These brews will be super helpful later on in the game, especially for champion training events and tournaments, and then for occasional events like the one we have right now for Hero's Path. This one right here. I can get this one really easily as well as another legendary skill tome. And I didn't even need to pull a single shard. I've just been upgrading champions constantly. And using brews gives me so much points and saves me a lot of energies. After saving your brews, you want to save your chickens. You can see up here I am a free-to-play player but I have quite a few chickens. You would only use this if you guys are rushing for a champion chase, if you're trying to snipe someone. Or if you guys will actually benefit a ton for 5-starring, 6-starring a champion right now. And then the most important resource you want to save in the tavern are your books. Legendary skill tomes are super hard to come by. They only pop up in occasional events and clan boss. Epic skill tomes are actually hard to get as well. But trust me, the epic books are so easy to get compared to legendary books. But this does not mean you should go ahead and waste your epic books either. Bonus tip for you guys is to never use a higher rarity tome on a lower rarity champion. So for example, the Apothecary, you can book him out using a mythical skill tome, a legendary, but what you want to do is only book him out with the same rarity of the book so that you don't waste it. Because if you look here and I go to a legendary champion, you cannot use the lower rarities for them. We got your champion situation sorted out. Now what you would want is really good gear. For dungeons, if you guys cannot farm at least stage 16, don't even bother coming to the dungeons because it is so bad farming anything below that. You can make the argument that stage 13 is good early game, but I was able to push my account really far without even going to dragons until I could clear at least stage 16 and then stage 20. For spiders, it's a different situation. You should definitely be farming stage 10 since you cannot get accessories from campaign. Stage 10 has a really high chance of dropping a 5-star. So if you guys can only farm stage 10, that is completely good. I told you guys not to farm in dungeons early game. This is because the campaign actually is way better. What you would need in the early game is speed and lifesteal stat only. So you come over here. On Brutal, you can actually get 3 to 5-star gear. And since you only need lifesteal and speed, you can farm stage 6 and stage 8 of the campaign. Because stage 6 is the speed gear and stage 8 is the lifesteal gear. The reason for this being so good is, for example, if I decide to farm this 8-6 Brutal, you would see that it is only a boot that can be dropped from this stage. This means the odds of me getting a 5-star speed boot in lifesteal gear is so high compared to getting a 5-star speed boot in Dragons. If you guys cannot farm anything above stage 16, you should not even be farming the dungeons and only stay in campaign. Now, another bonus tip, since this is quite related to the gear, is definitely farm faction wars. So if you go to this tab right here, the faction wars, you might consider building out at least one champion per faction, because even if you decide to farm the lowest one, you can get materials which you can then come over here to the forge and craft the perception and resilience. Resilience is a useful gear for the really early game, but the perception is extremely good mid game to late game. And faction wars is the only way you are getting a perception set, which is why you need to definitely get your materials, get the perception stuff, and come over here and craft it, because 40 accuracy and 5 speed is so good. And if you equip a champion with 6-piece perception, they are getting 15% extra speed and 120 accuracy, which is really important in the early game. And then my last and an extremely important tip is to focus on your clan boss team. As you can see here, I can 1-key the Ultra Nightmare boss, which is the hardest one. And you can actually get so many shards and books from the clan boss, especially in the Transcendent chest, which is only obtainable in Ultra Nightmare. The key things to beating clan boss is having a damage dealer, a turn meter booster, or someone who can put increased speed. You will want decreased attack, and then you would want ally protection, and either another damage dealer or another support. This is how you can conquer up to Nightmare extremely easily. 560s with masteries will be able to do this, no problem. But if you want to go to Ultra Nightmare, it is much harder, and if you guys do need help for that, make sure you guys comment down below and I might make a video about it. You guys would notice a trend for the early game that saving is the best thing that you can do. The final bonus tip for this video is to save your shards. In the early game, you would only ever want to pull your shards if there is a 2x event going on. If there is a progressive chance like this one, make sure to not pull, because in the really early game, it is terrible decision. If you guys just pull a bunch of rares, you're gonna hurt your account. But on the 2x, you have a really high chance of getting an epic. And then on the Sacred, you will have a 12% during a 2x to get a legendary. And if you want to pull your Sacred Shards, make sure you do it on a 2x. This is the highest possible chance of you getting a legendary early in the game. And if you guys did enjoy, make sure you guys do leave a like and subscribe to the channel, as I'm getting really close to the 1000 mark.